Hi, my name is Justin Yilmot, and this is the CNT podcast. This week I have two guests, Tommy and Aiden.
Hey,
Hey,
So this week I have a list of players, and we're going to give our opinions on if we think they will make the Hall of Fame. So let's hop right into it. Number one on the list, I have Trevor Story. I do not think he will make the Hall of Fame. I think he'll have a good career, but overall will fall short into making the Hall of Fame.
I personally agree with that as well. I feel like he'll be a great player, but I don't think it'll be enough to make him into the Hall of Fame.
yeah, I agree. As much as I'm a big Rockies fan and I love Trevor Story, I don't think he's not even the best team on the Rockies right now, the best player on the Rockies right now. So I don't think he'll deserve to make it into the Hall of Fame.
hmm He's a great player, though, and I do like to watch him play. Next we have Joe
Yeah,
Adele.
agreed.
Yeah. Next we have Joe Adele, and I do think he'll make the Hall of Fame because I think with Joe Adele, when he makes it to the starting lineup with Trout and Rendon, that's going to be a three-headed monster that will make playoffs. And I do think they will win 2 World Series with Joe Adele, Mike Trout, and Anthony Rendon if they all stay. I think that trio could win multiple World Series, and I do think Joe Adele will make it to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, I mean, Joe Adele's a really good prospect coming in from the Angels, and I do see him being in the Hall of Fame in the future.
Um, I don't know much about Joe Adele. I haven't been paying much attention to him, but if he's as good as the hype that's been generated around him, considering who else he has surrounding him, Otani, Rendon, Trout, that that group of hitters. I mean, if he's as good as they say he is, I mean, it's a scary team, but it's still the Angels, so we'll have to see how that goes.
That is true. Next on the list, I have Gavin Lux. I do not think he will make the Hall of Fame. I feel like he's overall is going to be good for his first 2 seasons, but then will be injury riddled and just overall be just a solid injury prone player. That is my prediction for his career, and I do not have him making the Hall of Fame.
All right, so I don't really know much about him, but from what you're telling me, you say he's like injury prone, and that's not very good when you're trying to make the Hall of Fame. So no, I don't think he'll make it either.
Well, he's not right now. Just that's my prediction for it. I
Yeah,
think he will, but I think he'll have like a major injury in his third season, and then he'll just be injury prone from then. He is not right now, but I do think he will become an injury prone player.
all right.
So I was looking earlier, and I didn't find any information about his season coming, his current season, the 2020 season.
Oh,
So
he was optioned back down before the season started. He's not with the
yeah,
Dodgers.
from what I found last year, I mean, his stats looked like they could be built on, but in my opinion, I don't think anything's going to come of his career.
hmm So fourth on the list, I have Chris Bryant, and I think that he has been a downhill player since 2016 when he won MVP and won the World Series. However, I do think he's going to pick it up, not this year and not in 2021, but I think in 2022, he's really going to step it up and become the player he was back in 2016. And I do think he will make the playoffs alone, as with his 2016 year, he was the best player on a team that won a World Series, and it was the Cubs with the 108-year drought. I feel like that's going to admit him into the Hall of Fame on that alone. And I only think he's going to get better, and I do think he'll win at least one more MVP, and I do believe he will be a Hall of Famer when his career ends.
Yeah, Chris Bryant had a really strong start to his career, and with that World Series win, that definitely boosted his confidence. But as you said, he's been going downhill lately, and I know he's battling an injury right now. So I'd say give him a couple years, and he'll be back at what he was in 2016.
hmm
I don't think he's as much of a shoo-in as you guys say he is. I think he still has more to prove. Because I mean, one season alone, I don't think will get you to the Hall of Fame. But I think if he can get back into the rhythm he had back in 2016, then it'll give him a better odds to get into the Hall of Fame.
hmm I kind of agree with that. Makes sense. And next on the list, we have another Cub in Nico Hono, and he's been killing it with the Cubs so far. Started to not like he's in a little bit of slump right now. I do think he will make it. I feel like a lot of people underrate him, and I do think he was a big help for the Cubs' early start. And I think he's gonna have a great season. I think he'll win one World Series with the Cubs, but then I do think he will end up leaving and winning two more with another team, along with grabbing an MVP. And so I do think he will make it into the Hall of Fame.
I think that I mean, I know he's young and stuff, but I need like a couple more years to like see what he can produce. I mean, he's had a good season already, but I mean, I want to see if he can keep that consistently. Same with Chris Bryant, but right now, it's hard for me to tell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we saw like 15, 20 games from him last year. We've seen 20, 30 games this year. I mean, too small of a sample size to really get a good. I mean, same with Joe Adell and Gavin Lux. I mean, it's a really small sample size, so I couldn't be sure. I mean, what I've seen is promising, and he looks like he could be good, but there's nothing to prove that he's a Hall of Fame, like he's a guaranteed Hall of Famer this early in his career.
That's fair. That's fair. Next, we have Freddie Freeman. Now, I really like Freddie Freeman, and he's my second favorite first baseman behind Anthony Rizzo. But I do not think he will make the Hall of Fame. I think he'll fall short. He's a good player, but he doesn't have the accolades to make it in my eyes.
I agree with that a little bit. I do think that he would fall short, but his career has been so good, and I feel like if he would have won, say, one or two World Series and one MVP in one of those years with the Braves, that he may have been considered a Hall of Famer in the future.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting question because he's a fan favorite. I mean, the baseball world loves Freddie Freeman.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if like Justin was saying, I don't know if his accolades are enough to get him over that Hall of Fame hump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so next we have Kyle Seager, long-term Mariners. I don't think he'll make the Hall of Fame just because he's on the Mariners and he has been. Like, the Mariners have done nothing, and so they're kind of irrelevant besides the fact that they are bad. And so he really, not a lot of people, unless you're like a Mariners fan, you don't realize how much he's contributed and helped and how good of a player he is. And since he's stuck on the irrelevant team, I feel like he'll kind of be forgotten when he retires by everyone but Mariners fans. And overall, he won't make it. He's not well known because he's on the irrelevant Mariners. And so I think he'll be forgotten and won't make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I will agree with that. I mean, he's a Mariners legend for people in our generation. Everybody loves him. I feel like he would need to go to a different team that is built very strongly, and he'd have to perform very well on that team in order to be even considered. Because right now, like you said, he's on the Mariners. Nobody really knows him. But I feel like if he were to move teams, win a couple World Series, get an MVP in one of those years, that he would be considered greatly for Hall of Fame, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only problem with that we are forgetting though is that he is an older player now. I mean, he's in his early 30s probably.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, how many more seasons does he realistically have in him? I mean, that's just one thing to consider. So I mean, I love the guy. I mean, he's a great player. For what the Mariners needed him to be, great player, but because he was on the Mariners and they just never let him shine, I don't think he really deserves much.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Like I said, he's on the Mariners, it hurts. Next we have a pair of Blue Jays and Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I think they both will make it because I have high hopes for the Blue Jays, and I think those two will stay with them their whole careers. I have high hopes for them. I think they're going to sign a star this offseason, and Vlad's going to step up. Bo Betcher has already stepped up. I think they're going to win 3 World Series with the Blue Jays. They have a bright future. I see them both making Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I will agree with that. I mean, I've seen Vlad playing these past couple of games, and he's been just absolutely destroying the teams that he's playing, and he was last year as well. And yeah, give him a player or two that have actual experience, and yeah, I do see them winning a couple World Series in the future.
Yeah, first going to Vlad. I mean, this is last year, but seeing him mash homer after homer against, I believe it was Jock in the home run derby, seeing him just mash those homers just was something that you don't see every day from a rookie. So having that immense power, plus a hopeful veteran guidance would certainly elevate him to a possible Hall of Famer. And then Bo Bichette, I love Bo Bichette. What he's shown to do to help out the Blue Jays is also another thing that could be very helpful to his case if they. I mean, here's another scenario: if they win a couple World Series, are they still both there? I mean,
that's true. Like,
how does that work?
I mean, like, if Bo leaves and they still win the World Series with Vlad, I mean, I still think Bo will stay relevant. I think he's one of our future stars, and I think he will become the best shortstop in the game in a few years, like 5 or 7. I think he'll be the best shortstop. No matter what, even if he does leave and never wins a World Series, I feel like he'll win an MVP or 2. No matter what comes out, I think he will find a way to make it into the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
It does help that his dad's a former All-Star.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Our next player is Dustin May, who I do not think is going to make the Hall of Fame. I feel like he'll just come short, and I don't think he'll make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that. I mean, I know he's had a good season, but I mean, he's going to have to put in a lot more effort if he wants to try to make it in that Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, the pitch he threw, I think it was probably 2 weeks ago now, was just against the Diamondbacks, I do believe, was absolutely incredible. But having one pitch, just one thing go viral isn't going to get you anywhere. I mean, you have to produce quality starts time and time again. And I think while he has the potential to be a good pitcher, I don't think he's going to be the great pitcher.
I agree. Next, we have another man in Kyle Lewis. I absolutely love Kyle Lewis. I'm not going to hide it. This might be a little biased, but I definitely think he's going to make it to the Hall of Fame. I mean, even right now I think it's his rookie year. He played a little last year, but it was towards the end, so I don't think it counted for as his rookie season. But he's leading the AL in hits still, like as a rookie or a second-year player. Like, he's mashing the ball. He's playing absolutely amazing in a league that has Mike Trout, Anthony Rendon, Lindor, like so many big names, and he's still leading the league in hits. I definitely see him as a future Hall of Famer. And I definitely see him winning 2 MVPs in his career. I love him. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, I mean, this year when I think of the Mariners, there's either two things that come to mind, that they're really bad, and then Kyle Lewis and how he's contributed so much since he arrived in the offseason. He was a great pickup for the Mariners. He's been doing super well this year. I will be biased as well. I love him as well, and I do see him making the Hall of Fame. Give him 2 or 3 more years, and possibly maybe traded to another team, or if they decide to keep him. I mean, Edgar Martinez and Ken Griffey didn't win a World Series, and they were still Hall of Famers. So,
Yeah.
I mean, give him a couple years, and I feel like he could reach some of that potential.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he's leading the AL in hits as a rookie is something very few have ever done, if any. So, I mean, the ability to do that while on a struggling team, that's quite impressive. So I don't know. Like a lot of the other guys, though, it's hard to tell, but I think he has the potential to do it.
Next, we have probably the most talked about rookie in baseball right now, Luis Roberts. Now, he's playing insane. Just yesterday he torched my Cubs. He's playing great. He's hitting the ball with enormous power. Great at the game. Definitely a future Hall of Famer. I don't think there's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, I will agree with that as well. I mean, I don't really have a comment on that. It's just he's been having a good season, so yeah, give him a couple more and future Hall of Famer. Yeah.
I think the only scenario in which he doesn't become a Hall of Famer is the Derrick Rose scenario, where he goes absolutely out of his mind for 3-4 years, gets injured, then falls off. So I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a high probability that he does, like that he gets a good chance at becoming a Hall of Famer.
Next, Whit Merrifield. He's on the Royals, best player there. I don't think he'll make the Hall of Fame. I think he's a good player for the Royals, and people would only think he'd be a Hall of Famer is because he's playing good on the Royals, and the Royals are a terrible team. You put him on a team like the Braves, if Ozzy Albies played short, and if he started on the Braves, people would just see him as an average player. But since he's on the Royals, the second worst team in baseball, people see him as a great player. But if he was to put into a good or decent team, he would come out and show that he's an average player, not a great player. So I do not think he would make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I will agree with that as well. Couple good seasons, but like you said, he's on the Royals. Same scenario with the Kyle Seager. I mean, he's good for their team, but I don't think he'd be good for any other team. So no, he's not making the Hall of Fame in my book.
See, I think if he put together the season he put together last year, I mean, it's a different story. I mean, if he continually puts up the numbers that he did last year, he has a decent chance of making it. But considering that he only put together that one good season, I don't think he's gonna do it.
Yeah, I don't think he'll make it. Another guy is Nelson Mandela's legend and someone who's making an absolute comeback this year. Could be the MVP. He's my comeback player of the year, Nelson Cruz. He's absolutely mashing the ball right now and has his whole career. He's making the Hall of Fame. There's no doubt in my mind. Again, like Luis Roberts, it's like the same thing, no doubt in my mind. However, Luis, like you said, could have a Derrick Rose type of situation. Cruz is past that point where if he's injured, he's done, and with the career he's had already, I feel like he's making it, and I don't think there's no scenario where I think he wouldn't make it, especially if he wins the MVP this year.
Yeah, I will agree with that as well. I mean, he's 38, 39 now, and he's still smashing home runs.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't really see that often, and with his long career that he's had, he's making the Hall of Fame for sure. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, agreed. The one problem with being in the AL and trying to win an MVP is a guy we're going to talk about later, Mike Trout.
Yeah.
I mean, considering how I feel like that's the one problem when we're trying to evaluate MVPs in the AL is we remember that year after year after year, it's not a competition.
Mm-hmm.
It's a how good will Mike Trout do this year MVP talk.
Yeah, that is very true. Next is Jeff McNeil. Now, I'm a huge McNeil fan. He's my favorite player on the Mets. I like him a little bit more than DeGrom, who I'm almost always pick as my Cy Young. But McNeil, I love him. He just got into an injury recently. He came back. Honestly, I don't think he's gonna make it. I think he'll maybe have a Derrick Rose situation, but I do not think he's gonna make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I'll agree strongly with that. Good season so far. Good prospect for the Mets. He's been playing very well, but nah, he's not making it.
Yeah, I love his passion for the game. Like he was willing to do I don't know if you saw what happened with I believe what caused the injury was a diving play. So I mean, having the passion to do that is a whole that takes determination and like the will to do it for the game. Something that's not completely necessary. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things I admire about him, and he's still putting up decent numbers. I mean, the season he put together last year was much better, but he
hmm
still is a decent player.
Yeah, I think he will always be a good player. I just don't think he'll make it fully. And then we have Eddie Rosario, great player for the Twins, but I don't think he's gonna make it. I just like he's a great player, but he's not talked about a ton. Like he puts up the same season, like he puts up a good season every year, but there's nothing that stands out about him that would get him into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the only way I would see him as like being talked about more is when he gets. I know he's pretty old now, but if he like puts up those same numbers, say 3, 4 years down the road, I mean, it's like a Nelson Cruz situation. I mean, you look at him now, he's putting up good numbers. And then you look at him 3 or 4 years and he's still doing that as consistent. Not enough for me to get him in the Hall of Fame, but he's still a really good player.
hmm
Yeah, I agree. Like the fact that he's been able to be consistent even up to this point, I mean, that's impressive, but I think definitely I don't think he will make it, even if he continues to put up these numbers.
hmm Next, we have two former Mariners, Cano and Felix. Now, for Cano, I don't think he's gonna make it. He used PEDs. Gotta toss him out. I don't think he'll make it because of that. And then Felix Hernandez, I think, again, it's like Nelson Cruz. There's no question in my mind. Like he had a great career, and he's still, you know, he's not too good now, but like he can still be solid. And he threw a perfect game. It's hard to not make the Hall of Fame when you've thrown a perfect game. And so, no question in my mind, I think he'll make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. Cano, Cano would have made the Hall of Fame if he didn't use PEDs. I mean, he's a great player. I mean, he's putting up great numbers this season. I have him on my fantasy team. He's absolutely destroying for me. Felix Hernandez, I'd say he makes it because he threw a perfect game. Because I mean, he's had that 6, 7 years of really good baseball, and then he's fallen off these past 2, 3 years. And I feel like if he got back into his rhythm, which is really hard to do, especially right now, yeah, he'll make it.
Yeah, I agree with both of you about both of those points. I mean, Cano loved what he did, even on the Yankees. I mean, he was amazing, but the PEDs chucks him out of the window unless you want to add Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa into the Hall of Fame, which is discussion for a whole nother time.
Yeah.
But Felix, I mean, Seattle legend. I mean, the entire town of Seattle loves him. I don't think there's anybody in Western Washington who hates Felix Hernandez.
hmm I fully agree.
The the perfect game is, I think, what sends him over the like I mentioned, the Hall of Fame hump. I think that's what sends him over because he put together numbers that alone wouldn't have put him into the Hall of Fame, but having that perfect game, something I believe less than 30 people have done. I mean, that's something that's amazing.
hmm
27 or 28, I think.
Yeah. Our next is John Lester. Now, I know what both of you and probably all my viewers are going to think is I'm going to say yes, but I don't think he's going to make the Hall of Fame, actually. I think he had a good career, but overall, I just feel like he's going to come just short of the hump. Like, he's going to be on, like, the hump leaning in, but because like he's just gonna miss out unless he wins another World Series. But if his accolades stay the same, he won't make it. If he wins a Cy Young or MVP or another World Series, I would put him in. But if not, I wouldn't. I would say no, he's not gonna make it.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that one. Very good career up until now. What, two, three World Series? Can't remember,
I believe
but
he has two, one with the Red Sox and then the
Red Sox one with the
2016 one.
Cubs. Yeah, I mean, like you said, if he can make it to another World Series and he performs like Madison Bumgarner did for the Giants when they won the World Series, I'd say, yeah, he would. But right now, no, I don't see him in the World Hall of Fame.
I mean, you saw my expression when Justin said that he didn't think John Lester would make it. I mean, that's
Yeah.
partially because of how much of a Cubs fan Justin is, but that's also partly because I love John Lester. I mean, what he did for the Cubs, what he's done for the Cubs the past couple of years, great. I mean, the fact that he's still pitching well even after being great on the World Series Red Sox team, I mean, that's a whole other thing. So I don't know. I think there's a discussion for him. I'm obviously not a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I mean, there's still a chance for him. I think there's still a chance for him.
I do think there's a chance, and don't get me wrong, I love Lester. When the Cubs won the World Series, I bought a World Series jersey. I bought the Lester one. I love Lester. He's been one of my favorite pitchers for a long time. Starting to not as much so as he's gone down a hill. Like yesterday, he got rocked by the White Sox by Luis Roberts. Like I love him. He's one of my favorite pitchers, but I don't think he's just missing something. Needs one more thing to push him over the edge, in my eyes. Next, we have Wilson Contreras, the Cubs catcher. I don't think he's going to make it either. I feel like if Lester doesn't make it, then he shouldn't either, as Lester's had a better career. Now, there is a scenario where I do see him making it, but however, I see the Cubs winning the World Series this year. I think that. However, then I think Wilson Contreras is going to leave, and then he's just going to be sad. Like, I don't think, like, I don't see him making it in.
Yeah, it's like you said, John Lester doesn't make it in, Wilson Contreras doesn't make it in. Contreras is going to need a solid, I'd say, 5 to 6 years in a row consistently. I'd say at least 20, 25 homers each year for him to beat that. And then I'd say a couple more World Series. But if he doesn't do that, then he's not getting in.
Yeah, I agree on all of those points. I mean, the one thing I would have to add is I think his brother has a better chance of making it than he does.
I don't know if I would agree with that.
Well, I mean, his brother's still young. He's an up-and-coming catcher prospect for the Mets right now, so we'll have to see what he does.
He actually made his debut this year, a little while ago.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
First pitch he saw, got a double off the wall. First pitch Contreras Wilson saw, hit a home run. Both got hits on the first pitch they saw. Our next player is Jared Kalinick. If you don't know who he is in the Mariners farm system, and he is one of our top 10 prospects there. However, I think he'll make it to the MLB, struggle, and then just be a solid player to have. Like, I don't think he's ever going to amount. I think he's going to be kind of a bust, and I do not see him making the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. I mean, top 10 prospect, you expect a lot from him. Comes up, underperforms, then that's what the Mariners do. You bring up a pitcher, underperforms, just throw him in the rotation somewhere where it makes it work for us. And then we end up trading him, and then they do good. But no, he's not going to make it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wish him the best of luck, but considering the organization he's in and the history they have for raising pitchers, it isn't looking good.
I agree. Next we have someone who is, I think, is a no doubter, and I think everyone's going to agree, is Mike Trout. Hall of Fame bound. Like, if we look at his career compared to anyone at his age, he's better than almost all. If we look at his career from right now, at some of the greatest players ever who are in the Hall of Fame right now, it somewhat compares. Like, even if he retired today, he'd be a first ballot Hall of Famer already. And the thing is, he's only halfway through his career. He's gonna do so much more. No doubt Hall of Famer. And even if he has a Derrick Rose situation, his career right now puts him in the Hall of Fame.
Mhm. Yeah, I will agree with that one. Tires now he's making the Hall of Fame, like you said. Killed it when he got drafted. I mean, he's just a special talent. Yeah, he's making it, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, he's an incredible player. I mean, he's once in a generation talent. I don't see any scenario where anything happens to him where he doesn't. I mean, the only scenario I can see is he starts taking PEDs. That's the only scenario that I can see where he doesn't make it into the Hall of Fame.
Thing is, I don't even see that as a scenario because he doesn't need them. Like, he's putting up Barry Bond numbers without the PEDs. Like, he doesn't need them to do good. Like, so I don't even see that as a possibility. Our next player is Cody Bellinger. I do think he'll make it. I think he will step it up and be able to put just enough effort in to make it. And so I do think he will be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I mean, had a great season last year, good season this year already. I mean, in my brain, he's a no doubter. I mean, I've watched the Dodgers for so long, and I've been waiting for another breakout player like him. And he's also a rare talent like Mike Trout. I mean, you give Cody Bellinger a couple more years, and he'll be another Mike Trout, I'd say. That's how much confidence I have in him.
Yeah, I don't have that much confidence in him. I think if he continues to do what he's been doing and gets better, and it takes just up that next level, I mean, guaranteed Hall of Famer. I mean, even right now, I mean, there's a chance he becomes a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
But we just have to see more.
I agree. And so another one is Christian Yelich. I do think he'll make the Hall of Fame. And here's why, because I think he will win at least 2 more MVPs. Not this year, but I think he will win 2 more MVPs in his career. And I think he will not win a World Series, but he'll win 2 more MVPs, and having those 3 to his name, he will be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I'll agree with that one. I mean, carried a Marlins team that's pretty much never been good, gets traded to the Brewers, makes them better automatically. I mean, he's an outstanding player. Like you said, he's not. I don't think he'll win a World Series unless the Brewers get a couple more good players. But I do see him making the Hall of Fame with a couple more MVPs for sure.
Yeah. What he's been able to produce with the Brewers, I mean, this is basically saying what Aiden said for Cody Bellinger. I think it almost becomes a situation where we start, like I said before, like over and over and over again. It's just consistently amazing. I think we could possibly run into that situation.
Mm-hmm. So the last player on the list is Gleyber Torres. I don't think he'll make it. I think he'll have a good career, but overall will just fall short in the Hall of Fame talks. Like, I think Wilson Contreras will have a better year than a better career than Gleyber Torres, and if Contreras doesn't make it, Torres isn't.
Yeah, I'll agree with everything you just said right there. He's not making it.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't much more to say. I mean, he's been good, but I don't think there's I don't think there's anything more than what we've seen from him so far.
Mm-hmm. So thank you all for watching, and a big thanks to Tommy and Aiden for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
No problem. Make sure to like this video if you want us to do a part 2, and make sure to subscribe. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.